everybody. We just got done sanding everything down to 220 and putting a coat of shellac on to seal everything so our epoxy doesn't migrate. So we sanded everything to 120, we sealed everything with shellac, and now we're ready to fill in our stars and our logo with epoxy. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is mix the epoxy for the letters. And I decided that is mix in a little walnut dust with my epoxy. So the first thing we need to do is get our scale out. Set everything to 0. And with these letters, we're not going to need a whole bunch of epoxy. So let's put, I don't know, maybe 10 grams in. Let's see where that takes us. Okay, that's part A. Part B. And we'll mix those together. Get a popsicle stick and we'll mix them together. Don't need this anymore. So we'll mix them together. And mix this up very thoroughly. Try not to get a lot of air bubbles in it. Scrape the sides and mix it. But again, try not to induce any more air than you have to. Stir it for a minute or so, and we'll let it set for a minute. You want to move the air bubble stuff out. One of the things you can do is heat it up. And what that does is change the viscosity of it and will allow the bubbles to be released a little bit easier. As you can tell, the viscosity's changed quite a bit and I haven't really heated it that much. You can almost get it like water. Okay. One of the things you can do to help the process along a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I got some fine sanding dust that is walnut, and I got it from my sander, and I'm going to introduce that into my epoxy. So essentially what I'm going to make here is a epoxy sanding dust. Kind of like a filler, but it'll be walnut colored. Mix it in thoroughly. And again, like I said, by warming it up, you make the viscosity a lot thinner. Okay, I'm pretty much good with that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I like to put it in a syringe and then squirt it out. So get another cup here so that we don't get epoxy all over the place. And we'll fill our syringe up with epoxy. And this in, allow all the air to come to the top, and then we can gently eject all the air. So what I'm going to do is eject all the air out. There I go. All my air is now out, and now I can go and fill in, and this will make your letters come to life. Make sure you get all your corners and stuff. Fill all the spaces in. It's kind of like drawn with liquid. Again, make sure you fill everything in. And by heating it a little bit, we made it a little bit more liquidy, and it actually flows a little bit better. Put that aside. Now we're ready to mix up some white for our stars. So I get the scale back out. Get a new cup. And we'll do 15 grams of each of this part. Okay, there it is. Put our scale off to the side. Now we're ready to mix in some white. It doesn't take a bunch of white, just a few drops. That's plenty. And let's mix it up. Again, like I said before, try not to introduce too many bubbles, and just mix it up. And just like we did with the letters, we're going to heat it up a little bit so that it flows a little bit better. Let's turn this over so we're not reaching across our letters. Okay. Like we did before, we'll heat it up a little bit. Make it a little more viscous. It really doesn't take a lot, believe me, to turn this more viscous. And we'll get another syringe, put a tip on it. Fill it up. It's almost like water now. And just like we did before, we'll just go ahead and push the plunger up till we get all the air out. Once we get the air out, we can come over here and start filling our stars. And when it's real viscous or very Okay folks, welcome back. This is the finishing and assembly part of our video. I've already sanded down our cutting board to 320 and trimmed it, so we're ready to put the finish on and then put the feet on. The feet were provided by our good friends over at KenCraft. Here is the parts and the part numbers. You can get these at KenCraft. They're cutting board feet with stainless steel screws. So they have all your needs for the wood and accessories for these cutting boards. The next one that I did was I put water-based top coat clear and I tinted it with the Crystalac warm tone solution and a little bit of the Craft Boutique color number 6, which is a dark brown, and I added it to this top coat clear, and it gives it kind of like a shellac look. I applied a coat, sanded it with 320, applied another coat, sanded it with 320, and that's what was my seal coat now. So that's that. Now the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to put conditioner on it and cutting board oil. And basically what the cutting board oil is food safe mineral oil. And we'll just take a piece of paper towel and we will apply our cutting board oil, and this is the product that I'm using, and it's food grade mineral oil, and we're going to just douse it with that, and that will make the grain come out, and it also adds a food and sealing protection. Whatever coatings that you use on your cutting board, you want to make sure that they're food safe. So just be mindful of that. So I take my paper towel and I'm just basically going to fold it into basically a little square, and I'm going to apply the oil all over and let it soak in really good. It probably won't soak in a bunch because we already put some sealer on it, but man, does that make that grain come out. And that's really one of the things that we're kind of after. So make sure you do all the edges. and coat it thoroughly. And let it kind of soak in. Do your edges. Okay, welcome back. We're going to go up ahead and put the feet on the back. If there's any excess oil, make sure you wipe it off before we put the feet on. And I usually put the feet about 1 inch in from each corner. I'll drill a pilot hole and then put it in. And what I do is I just take my calipers and I kind of measure in about 1 inch to 1 inch in. Put a mark there and then take my drill bit and drill the hole. And I go about 3/8 of an inch in. Measure and measure right there. Measure and measure and drill my hole. And that's our feet done. Now we can turn it over. And give it the final buff. So there you go. That's how we made our American flag cutting board. I want to thank my sponsors, Next Wave Automation, Kencraft Company, and Crystal Act. See you next project.